Hare Krishna. Welcome to our ongoing series of online discourses. And this month's theme is glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam. Before we start today, I'd like to start with my pranami mantras. Please join me, and then we'll start with the class. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evcha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So as I was saying, the theme this month is glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam, starting today, leading up to Bhadra Purnima, which is a day where it is said that if on the full day of that month, one places Srimad Bhagavatam on a golden throne and gives it as a gift, he will attain the supreme transcendental abode. So there's a whole team ready to distribute and present to you a set, Srimad Bhagavatam set of your choice, a choice of language that is, and you can get English sets for $329, and any Indian language sets like Malayalam, Kannada, Tamil, Hindi, Bengali, etc., for $299. So I'll encourage you very strongly. If you don't have one, take for yourself. If you already have one, consider giving it to a friend. Very, very auspicious thing to do. So what I'm going to do now is start with the class in terms of the topic today. And I'll start by talking about what necessitated the compilation and narration of Srimad Bhagavatam. And actually, it's interesting because both compilation and narration of Srimad Bhagavatam started with personal crises of two people. The first person I'm going to talk about is Vyasadeva, Srila Vyasadeva, and the other person is King Parikshit. So as we know, Srila Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. But what led to that is what I'm going to talk about. So most of you already know that Srila Vyasadeva compiled all the four Vedas, including the 108 Upanishads. He wrote 17 Puranas. And when that was not enough, he wrote the Vedanta Sutras, which are basically the summary of all the Vedas, but in a code form. And then he wrote Mahabharata for the benefit of those who could not study or understand well the Vedas. But after all that, he did not feel satisfied and basically felt little or no satisfaction in his heart. He felt kind of incomplete. Despite having accomplished so much, his heart felt empty. So, as he sat brooding and meditating upon his spiritual master, Narad Muni, Narad Muni appeared in front of him and he explained the reason for Vyasadev's discontentment. Narad Muni said, "You know, you have done a great job in compiling all these books. These books elaborately explain different goals of life and how to achieve them. But We have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And then Narad Muni added that the philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord is considered worthless. So basically, Narad Muni told his disciple Vyasadeva that all the work he had done so far is considered useless by the Lord. Can you imagine the impact of that kind of a statement from your guru? Anyway, so Narad Muni asked Vyasadeva to glorify the Lord and Lord's devotees in his next work. So Vyasadeva sat down and meditated for a long time on the pastimes of the Lord and Lord's devotees, and then produced his best work, which is now famously called Srimad Bhagavatam. It's really the ripened fruit of all the Vedic knowledge. Srila Vyasadeva then taught Srimad Bhagavatam to his son and disciple Shukadev Goswami. So essentially, the personal crisis for Srila Vyasadeva resulted in the compilation of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then a totally different kind of crisis caused the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam by Shukadev Goswami. Most of you, if not all of you, have probably heard the name of King Parikshit, who was a grandson of Arjun. He was once cursed to die in 7 days. It's a very long story about how that happened, but I don't have the time in this class to get into the details. But I'll just talk about very briefly what happened after he got cursed. So first point I want to make is that King Parikshit could have easily nullified that curse. And there were other people who also offered to nullify this curse for him. But, he was not interested. And he very quickly, like within hours of this curse, gave his kingdom to his son, whose name was Janmejaya, and he went to the banks of Ganges. He invited all the famous sages, and they came immediately. So those days, the method of communication must have been faster than any text or email or whatever social media thing we can do today. Because literally within hours, hundreds of thousands of people assembled in that place. And these people were no ordinary people. They included Narad Muni, Vyasadeva himself. There were rishis like Asita and Devala. Suta Goswami showed up. Even Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, along with many, many other demigods, they all showed up. And King Parikshit asked this assembly of august people, or I should say august assembly of people, a very relevant and profound question. He asked, what's the duty of a person who's about to die in 7 days? And they had to choose one person to answer the questions. So the whole assembly picked Shukadev Goswami to answer the queries of King Parikshit. And the reason was there was no one more convinced of Lord Krishna being the Supreme Personality of Godhead than Shukadev Goswami. Of course, the king had many other questions, but they were all answered by Shukadev Goswami over those 7 days. All his answers were based on his understanding of Srimad Bhagavatam. At the end of 7 days, Shukdev Goswami completed his narration of Srimad Bhagavatam, and King Parikshit left his body to go to the spiritual world. That's how the narration happened. So I'm going to digress a little bit from the main topic because I want to show you the pictures and videos of the place where Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled by Srila Vyasadeva and then narrated by Suta Goswami. who was also present in that assembly. And Sutta Goswami narrated it to 88,000 sages who had gathered to perform a fire sacrifice. So if you give me a second, I will share the screen and I'll show you the presentation. Okay, let's see. So, sorry. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to. Don't. I'm sorry, I don't think it's working for me. So I will not be able to show you the slide. And I'll just continue without that. Sorry about that. So, what is Srimad Bhagavatam about? Excuse me. And how is it different from Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Lord Krishna just prior to the start of the famous battle of Kurukshetra to help Arjun, who was having his own crisis. Okay. It ends with Krishna advising Arjun to completely surrender to him. Srimad Bhagavatam starts where Bhagavad Gita left off, in that it discusses the pastimes of fully surrendered devotees and their loving exchanges with the Lord. These devotees are completely convinced beyond a shadow of doubt that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, the Supreme Enjoyer, and their protector and provider. These devotees are completely convinced that Krishna is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient, which means he's everywhere, he's all powerful, and he knows everything, including what's in their heart. They're also fully convinced that they are eternal servants of the Lord, who loves them dearly and will do anything for them, including protecting them from all types of dangers and provide for them whatever they need. So today, I'd like to discuss the stories of two such devotees who were completely surrendered and were fully convinced about the protection of the Lord. First story is about a 5-year-old devotee by the name of Prahlad, who was actually born in a demoniac family. His father's name was Hiranyakashipu, who was a staunch enemy of the Lord. Prahlad was born a devotee, having been instructed in the science of devotional service by none other than Narada Muni, while he was still in the womb of his mother Kayadhu. So this is when Hiranyakashipu was doing his austerities. Later on, when he came back, Prahlad and Kayadhu, they were joined by Hiranyakashipu. And when Prahlad was 5 years old, he was sent to a school where his teachers were Shand and Amarka. They were two sons of Shukracharya, the spiritual master of the demons. These teachers were teaching him the art of diplomacy and economics and other mundane stuff. Obviously, Prahlad Maharaj was not interested in all this, and he continued to meditate on the teachings of his guru, Narada. So after a while, one day, his father Hiranyakashipu called him and in a very sweet language asked Prahlad, "So, son, tell me, what's the best thing that you have learned in your school?" Prahlad replied that, "Father, as far as I have learned from my guru, this material world is like a dark, dry well where there is no water, but only suffering." And he said, one should give up his material conception that I am this body and go to Vrindavan to cultivate Krishna consciousness and should thus take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, can you imagine the reaction of Hiranyakashipu, the staunch enemy of the Lord? His own son was preaching to him to take shelter of his arch enemy. So Hiranyakashipu called the teachers, Shan and Amarka, and asked them, "Hey, what's this nonsense? I want you to train him in the proper art of living like a demon. I want him to learn how to be a good materialist. I want him to learn how to conquer his enemies." Shan and Amarka took Prahlad back to school and asked him, "Hey, who are you learning all these things from?" Prahlad Maharaj told them that everything you are teaching me in these classes is just useless nonsense. I've learned from my guru that no one is your friend or enemy. Everyone is part and parcel of Krishna, and we should see Krishna everywhere. You can imagine their reaction. And they said, "What is this nonsense? You're supposed to be an enemy of Vishnu. Therefore, you learn what we are teaching you." So Prahlad Maharaj just sat in the class and appeared like he was learning everything they were teaching. Shan and Amarka were now convinced that they had properly brainwashed him and that they had turned Prahlad Maharaj into a good demon. So they went and told Hiranyakashipu, "Hey, that your son is doing well in school. We are very proud of him." Prahlad's mother Kayadhu brought Prahlad Maharaj to Hiranyakashipu, who affectionately kissed him and put him on his lap. Actually smelled his head and patted his back, and in a very sweet voice, he said, "So, Prahlad, tell me, what do you think is the best thing in life?" Prahlad Maharaj replied that the 9 processes of devotional service, starting with hearing and chanting about the glories of the Lord, remembering Him, serving His lotus feet, offering respectful worship, becoming His servant, offering prayers, and becoming His friend, and ultimately surrendering everything to the Lord. And then Prahlad added that one who dedicates his life in the service of Krishna through these 9 processes should be understood to be the most learned because he has acquired complete and perfect knowledge. Upon hearing this, Hiranyakashipu was literally disgusted. He threw Prahlad off his lap to the ground and he called the teachers Shanda and Amarka and asked them, "What are you teaching? You've all become agents of enemy." And the teacher said, "No, no, 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 really. Don't you know we are the sons of Shukracharya? We are good demons. We have not taught him any of these things. And we don't know where is he learning all this from." At that time, Hiranyakashipu had it. He said to Prahlad, "I want to know if your teachers did not teach you this nonsense about devotional service to Vishnu. Where have you learned it?" Calmly, Prahlad replied that people who are too much into enjoying material life don't know that their real interest lies in serving Lord Vishnu. They accept a nonsense guru who leads them to hell, just like a blind man leads a blind man. And what happens? Everybody goes into a ditch. And then Prahlad Maharaj offered his father a solution. He said, Father, all you have to do is take the dust of the lotus feet of a devotee and spread it on your forehead to become free from material contamination. Just, just, just note how unafraid of his father Prahlad was. Prahlad was a 5-year-old child, probably, I don't know, 4 foot tall. But Hiranyakashipu was, I don't know, 30 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet tall, or whatever, a huge. But Prahlad was not afraid. Why? Because he was convinced. Prahlad was convinced beyond a shadow of doubt that his Lord is the Supreme Person, not some ordinary demon like his father. Well, Prahlad spoke these words. Hiranyakashipu decided that this boy must die. His own son must die. So he ordered his soldiers to stab his 5-year-old son's body with sharpened tridents. And Prahlad just sat, peacefully remembering Krishna. Krishna, I'm yours. Krishna, not a blade of grass can move without your sanction. Krishna, for one you protect, no one can kill. And for one who you want to kill, no one can protect. I'm your servant. Do as you like with me. All I ask is that in life or death, I'm always fixed in loving thoughts of your lotus feet. That's all I want. So, because of his faith and devotion, all these sharp tridents could not penetrate his flesh. The soldiers then took him to a high mountain, tied a big boulder to his back, and threw him down into the ocean. When that didn't work, they put him on the ground and dropped massive rocks upon him. That didn't work. They threw him in a raging fire. That didn't work. They threw him under the feet of stampeding elephants. That didn't work. They threw him in boiling oil. But Prahlad was not even the slightest bit affected. He was still calm, quiet, not quiet, praying, calmly praying to the Lord, remembering the Lord, meditating upon the Lord's lotus feet. In the meantime, Hiranyakashipu was going crazy. He didn't know what to do. He was in such a fear. Hiranyakashipu was in fear. At that time, the teachers, Shanda and Amarka, told Hiranyakashipu, please don't be so upset. He's only a child. He's only 5 years old. Let us take him back to the school. We will make him just the way you like him. So they pacified Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad went back to school. Now, now Prahlad started to preach to his friends. Whenever Shanda and Amarka, the teachers, would leave the classroom, he'll sit down with them and start preaching to them Krishna consciousness. And his friends, who were also 5-year-old children of other demons, they would just give up all their play and their studies and just sit around him in rapt attention and listen what he had to say. Prahlad Maharaj encouraged them to become a devotee. right from the age of 5 and not waste time in playing, sleeping, and making money. He taught them how to serve the Lord, starting with the process of hearing and chanting. Very soon, the teachers, Shanda and Amurka, realized that the children, the other children, no longer cared about the demonic studies of divide and conquer and diplomacy and all those things. And they realized that Prahlad is, get this, that Prahlad is contaminating the entire school with bhakti. That's how demons think. So they took Prahlad back to his father and told Hiranyakashipu that they have expelled Prahlad, expelled from the school, because he is bad association for his children, for other children. They said, whoever comes in contact with him starts chanting Hare Krishna. Hiranyakashipu was beside himself. He was so angry. His lips were trembling, his limbs were trembling, his eyes were red in rage. And he said, Prahlad, do you know that I have conquered this entire universe? Even Indra and all other demigods tremble in fear of me. Why is it that you do not fear me? How is it that I have conquered everything and everyone, but I cannot kill you? With all my powers, I cannot even disturb you. Prahlad, where do you get this power from? And Prahlad, with great humility, folded hands, but with full conviction, replied, my dear father, I get my powers from the same place you get yours, and from the same place everyone else gets theirs, from Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hiranyakashipu asked, so where is this Vishnu? Prahlad said, he's everywhere. Hiranyakashipu asked, pointing to a pillar, is he in this pillar? Prahlad said, Father, I just said, he's everywhere. Then Hiranyakashipu drew his sword and said, if he is in this pillar, Prahlad, let me see him save you now, because I am about to kill you. Just as he was coming at Prahlad with his sword, he hit the pillar with his hand. When he did that, Hiranyakashipu heard a sound that he had never heard before. He was looking all around. Where is it coming from? Who is this? And then the pillar shook and broke apart. And the most extraordinary manifestation of Godhead, Lord Nrsimhadev, appeared in the form of half man and half lion and began to roar. The Lord's eyes were red with anger. His nails were so effulgent they were lighting up the entire planet, the entire sky, and he very easily killed Hiranyakashipu. Nrsimhadev Bhagwan ki jai. Here's the point of the story. Prahlad could have easily given up his conviction out of the fear of his father. He could have avoided some very unpleasant situations that he had been put in. All he had to do was agree with his father and give up his devotion. But he did not. He never gave up his conviction that the Lord exists, that he's everywhere, that he's watching him constantly. The Lord loves him. Prahlad was thinking, the Lord loves me and he will not let me down. He will rescue me from this situation or any other situation that comes. Even as he was falling from the mountain to the ocean, into the ocean, as he was being stampeded by the elephants, or being bit by the poisonous snakes and scorpions, or being thrown in the fire, he never gave up his conviction that the Lord is the controller and my protector. My Lord loves me. All I have to do is to remember him, to serve him by chanting his name, and he will be there for me. He will save me. He has my back. That is conviction. That's what Prahlad Maharaj had. Because of him, Lord Nrsimhadev appeared. Just to not just protect him, but to satisfy his desire to see him. So that was the story about Prahlad Maharaj. I'm going to share one other story. This time, not a human being, but an animal. Actually, an elephant by the name of Gajendra, which literally means the king of elephants, which is what he was. Excuse me. So this elephant, Gajendra, was attacked by a crocodile while enjoying a nice leisurely bath in a lake with his family. His entire family and his soldiers, everybody was there, and he was having a great time. Suddenly, this crocodile showed up and grabbed his leg in his jaws, and a fight started. But after fighting for many, many years, he said it's more than 1,000 years, Gajendra, the elephant, realized he was not going to win this battle, and he felt he was nearing death. He asked for help from everybody who was around his associates, but none of his associates could help him. Finally, he was just ready to give up. Then he remembered God, and he offered God a flower from the lake. Basically, picked it up and offered to the Lord, along with heartfelt prayers, but with full conviction that God will come. He was not thinking at that time, I hope he comes. I hope he hears me. I hope he exists. Maybe he will come. Maybe he won't. No. He knew in his heart that God was there, even though he could not see him. Gajendra didn't see anything except nice sunny sky. That's all he saw, the lake and the sky. But he took that lotus flower and offered prayers of love to God in complete faith. He said to himself, I don't see him. I don't hear him. But I know he's there. He's within my heart. He's within everything. He hears me. I know it. I just know it. Complete faith that God was accepting that lotus flower. And sure enough, Lord Vishnu came on his career, Garuda, and cut that crocodile's head with his disc. Not only that, he also put the soul of the elephant on a special airplane to take him to the spiritual world. And God did all this because the elephant, Gajendra, was fully convinced that God is watching him, God is listening to his prayers, and God will protect him. So, the moral of this story is that when we perform any service to God, any service, we should have the same conviction that God is accepting our service. Whether we are chanting the holy names of the Lord, we are attending a spiritual class, we are sweeping the floor of the temple, or washing pots in the kitchen. We should have complete faith. We should have complete faith that here and now, at this very moment, Krishna is present. Present in my heart, present in this room, watching, hearing, responding, accepting my efforts. And Krishna is pleased with me as long as I am sincere. That is conviction. That's what we're talking about. When we are in the most dangerous situation, or actually any situation for that matter, even when everything seems to be all right, we should be confident that as Lord Nrsimhadev was there for Prahlad, as Lord Vishnu was there for Gajendra, as Lord Krishna was there for the residents of Vrindavan, whenever they were in trouble, the Lord is there watching us and is accepting our service and He will help us. He will save us. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about that. These stories in Srimad Bhagavatam are not fables, not made up stories. They are history. They actually happened. Srimad Bhagavatam narrates them to give us the perfect understanding of reality and to increase our faith. They are about the reciprocation of Lord's love with his devotees and vice versa. So we must have that faith. We must have that faith in our scriptures to be able to surrender to God. We should be convinced that God can do whatever he wants, including appearing from a pillar in the form of half man, half lion, or lifting the big golden hill when he was merely 5 years old as a child Krishna. And he does these things, the Lord that is. He does these things to show his love for his devotees and to protect the love of his devotees. In return, the devotees have the conviction that the Lord is with them and then they surrender to the Lord with love. That's the beautiful reciprocal relationship between the Lord and his devotees. It may already be obvious, but I'm going to talk about the benefit of conviction, being convinced of the Lord's existence, Lord's love for us, God's protection for us, Lord being the supreme controller, supreme enjoyer, etc., etc. Benefits. When everything seems to go wrong in life, and it happens sometimes more than once, this conviction empowers us to see the benevolent hand of Lord Krishna guiding us out of our problems, to understand that everything is actually all right, even if it appears wrong. Another one, whenever we are faced with adversities, again, that happens, it's inevitable. Our peace and happiness will depend not on our wealth, not on our power, not even our place in society, but on our faith in Krishna. Because faith is our way of reciprocating Krishna's love for us. By having faith and then surrendering, we're telling Krishna we love and trust him. We accept him as our Lord, as our protector, our guardian, and our well-wisher, our well-wishing friend. Then Krishna reciprocates by providing his protection and demonstrating his love for us. Complete faith in the mercy of the Lord without dependence on material things gives us real independence. And lastly, our conviction about the Lord shows through when we are trying to preach to other people. The best way to convince others is not simply through giving information supported by verses from the scriptures, one after the other, you keep on quoting the verses and some high philosophy. Not so much from that, but through our own conviction and faith. Someone may speak for hours to prove the existence of God, to prove the supremacy of the God. And the listener may think it's just all fanciful, superstitious ideology. But one who really has faith and conviction can just say a few words and convince the listener. Let's consider the example of Srila Prabhupada. In the beginning, I'm talking about 1965, maybe 66 also. In the beginning, most Americans had difficulty following Srila Prabhupada's accent. It was very heavy Bengali accent. They hardly understood what he was saying. Yeah, sure, they could catch a few words here and there, but he totally convinced them to surrender their lives to Krishna because he was himself convinced. Whatever few words they could understand from what he was saying penetrated their hearts and transformed their lives. Why? Because it was spoken with such conviction, with such realization, and with so much faith. So, if we want to convince others, the best process is to be convinced ourselves. Okay, fine. But then you say, how do I maintain and nourish this kind of faith, this kind of conviction in Krishna? Well, good question, really. It takes years of a spiritual practice to cultivate faith. The problem is if we have a complacent and lax approach to spiritual practices, then we'll drag our faith down in a matter of moments. And think about this. Now, please think about this for a second. To lose money, prestige, health, or even life itself is not such a great loss. But to lose faith is the greatest loss. Therefore, we must work very hard to cultivate faith. And let's talk about some of the ways in which we could do so. So, first is we should associate with people of faith. Actually, people who have high degree of faith. Faith is contagious, believe it or not. It's very contagious. People who have high degree of faith can remove any doubts that we have when our faith is not so strong. Faith begets faith. Another point, you can hear about the qualities and pastime of the Lord. You can read the scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and get inspiration from the pastimes of the Lord with his devotees. And this is why so much emphasis on distributing books like Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and this month is an ideal time to do it. Chant Krishna's name regularly and attentively. Visit holy places like Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, etc. And cultivate knowledge because knowledge, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, knowledge would combat doubt and strengthen faith. Faith combined with the knowledge of the scriptures, like Srimad Bhagavatam, can lift us from being an unsure believer to someone fixed in his convictions. I hope that's making sense. Krishna has interesting ways. How he works is sometimes not easy to understand. But we do not need to understand how or what he does. We just need to have faith that whatever he does is good for us, even if it is not obvious immediately. Let us therefore take shelter of the Supreme Lord Krishna and serve him sincerely. He will help us in times of trouble, especially those times when everything else seems impossible. We may have powerful enemies, but if we remain under the protection of Krishna, no one can do us any harm. As the saying goes, he whom Krishna protects, no one can kill. One whom Krishna wants killed, no one can protect. Another point, even in the mundane aspect of things, study after study has proven that those with conviction tend to handle difficulties in life better than those with little or no faith. And let's be honest, today, present time, these are difficult times due to the COVID 19 situation. So many of us have lost their livelihood, even their lives, and their freedom of movement and to do everyday routine activities. I think everybody's listening can identify with that. This has caused a surge in mental health issues and a general increase in stress levels. The domestic abuse is on the rise, but if we have faith, we can handle this better because we will find it easier to accept that this too shall pass. This too is Krishna's plan for whatever reason that only he can understand. But if there is no faith, the absence of that faith may lead to either irresponsible behavior or actually things that would be very sorry for with all these negative consequences of irresponsible behavior. So, my dear devotees, we have a choice. You can choose to trust Krishna and his message or not. It's simple, very simple choice. Choose to trust Krishna and his message or not. We receive his words from the scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam and from Krishna's devotees. We trust Krishna and his message and follow accordingly. Even the worst experience can become tolerable. And if we don't, even minor issues can seem insurmountable. Both the trusting and the non trusting people appear to live, work, and play like the other. But while doing so, one is gaining freedom from the miseries of this world, while the other is simply becoming more entangled in the material world and prolonging his miserable stay in this material world. When things go wrong in life, a person with conviction continues to believe in the protection and care of God. When such a person is baffled by life and unable to control or understand what is happening in his life, then he simply surrenders to God, to Krishna. The person without conviction, on the other hand, starts wondering if Krishna is unfair and uncaring, or if he exists at all. Which one do you want to be? Your choice. Trusting with full conviction or untrusting, no conviction. How we lead our life from now on depends upon the answer to this one very simple question. The choice is yours, choice is ours. So before I finish, I want to mention that we're going to be celebrating Balaram Jayanti tomorrow. And once again, the program would be virtual online program, class to be given by His Holiness Bhakti Mark Swami. And I think that notices have been sent out, so hopefully all of you are aware. I'm going to now take a look at any questions that I should answer. So please give me a second while I try to read and find any questions. Okay, so there's one question here. Sometimes in adversity, despite faith, we still carry worries for the adverse things. Is it natural or is it lack of conviction and faith? Please enlighten. So, Prabhuji, wonderful question, excellent question, because most of us face this question at some point or the other in our life. But you have used a very interesting word in your question. Is it natural or is it lack of conviction? So let's first talk about what is natural, the definition of natural. Definition of natural, which is what comes to us naturally, it's up to us. Whatever we are conditioned to believe, whatever we are conditioned to expect, whatever our model is, that's what comes to us naturally. So, for example, children, it's natural to play and throw temper tantrums. It just comes to them naturally. But as we become adults, it's not so natural because our conditioning has made us think differently. So, because we are conditioned souls, our model says, I'm in control, I'm the proprietor, I'm the enjoyer, and it's my responsibility to do things for my family, for myself, etc. So, what comes naturally is to try on our own. It's not natural to depend upon somebody we have never seen, have only heard about, and may or may not have full faith. So, if that's what is natural to us, the worries will be there. No matter what, worries will be there. Small problem, large problem. The larger the problem, the more the worry. There's no question about it. However, if through lifetimes of practice, association with the devotees, knowledge of the scriptures, we have an association, of course. We have come to the conclusion that we are not from this material world. We are not this body. We are eternal servants of Krishna. And Krishna is looking after us. Krishna is our protector. Krishna will protect us. And just like that child who had up 6 months doesn't worry about anything, or even 1 year old for that matter, because he knows my parents are there. They'll feed me when I'm hungry. They'll protect me from any danger. My mothers stay up all night sometimes worrying about the child in the crib. And similarly, my Lord Krishna is there looking after me, taking care of me. I am getting worried only because what's happening does not fit my model of comfort, uh, what should happen according to my plan, etc., etc. And that's when there's a discrepancy between our plan, our expectation, and Krishna's plan. That's when things start to look like, oh, they're adverse. That's when we start getting worried. But we forget that a lot of times these so-called adversities actually result in the best possible outcome you can imagine. And I already gave you 2 examples in the beginning of the class. This personal crisis for Vyasadeva that resulted in the compilation of Srimad Bhagavatam. This personal crisis for Parikshit Maharaj that resulted in the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam. There was personal crisis for Gajendra and for Prahlad Maharaj, because of which the Lord gave their darshan to these people. What could be more than that? What could be better than that? Who would call getting darshan of the Lord an adversity? So if you start thinking that way, then suddenly it's not an adversity, it's an opportunity. Kunti Maharani, Queen Kunti, saw it that way. So she actually said, she said, please, my dear Lord Krishna, give me more miseries. Why? Because her conditioning was, whenever there's trouble, she thinks of Krishna. And she's able to see Krishna. And when she's able to see Krishna, she knows that her miseries are over. She no longer has to come back to this material world. So if we can develop that attitude, that understanding, then this will not appear as an adversity. I think there's a subsequent question from the same person. Um, in Grihastha life, one partner may have faith, but other has no faith at all in Krishna consciousness. How can it be handled by both partners? That's a tricky one, bro. That's a tricky one because of the relationship, because of the partnership, and it has to be handled very carefully. Of course, lots of conversations, lots of reading the books and chanting, but sometimes due to familiarity, one partner does not want to accept the advice of the partner. So sometimes it's good to get a third party involved. Third party that the other partner, trusts. It could be a guru, it could be a senior devotee, or it could be just a friend who who has devotional attitude, but whom this other partner trusts. And let them have that conversation. So that's one thing. The second thing, and I said this, I'm not saying it's probably in your situation, but I've seen it happen in other situations, that one partner is so convinced of his conviction, his faith, his trust in Krishna, that he cannot see why his partner or her partner cannot see that. And they try to force their point of view, their perspective, their faith on the other partner. That doesn't work. So we have to respect the opinion, the faith, whatever that is, and perspective of the other partner who's doubting, who's more worried. Let them express their doubts. Let them express their concern. Let them express their worries. Respect that and then offer. A lot of times we find other person doesn't want to listen to us because we have not listened ourselves. So allow them the opportunity to open their heart, dump it on you, say everything that they're feeling, and then you speak. And that may mean a lot of patience on your part, a partner's part. And we'll take it very slowly. We cannot make a person believer overnight. It takes lifetime of practice. So slowly, little bit at a time, maybe that will help. So I hope I've answered your question, Prabhu. I think we know each other very well. If you wish to discuss this further, I'll be more than happy to do that. There's another question here. What's the best way to firm up our conviction in the Lord amidst all the adversities thrown at us in this material world? So, Prabhu, it's the same thing. The best way is to associate with other devotees who have higher degree of faith or high degree of faith. Read Srimad Bhagavatam, read Bhagavad Gita, read about the devotees, the stories of devotees who were in so much more stressful situations than we can ever be. Which one of us, just ask yourself this question, which one of us can handle the stress that Prahlad Maharaj was facing? Being thrown in the dark well where scorpions and the serpents are biting you, being thrown from a mountaintop into the ocean, being stampeded by the elephants, being taken to a fire with your aunt, being pierced by the tridents, being threatened by your own father that you're going to be killed. Which one of us have gone ever through even 1% of that? So we are very fortunate. But we can learn from the lifetime, from the activities of these devotees. That's why these stories are there in these books to teach us the lesson that this is what happens if you maintain your faith. This is what will happen if you continue to believe in Krishna. Krishna says, I cannot let you down. Kaunte pratijani name bhakta pranashati. I shall not let you down. I have your back. I will come. I'll protect you. Even if I have to break my own promise, Krishna says, like he did for Arjun. I'll break my promise, but I'll protect you because you are my devotee. That's all. That's all in the equation. You are my devotee. Therefore, I, Krishna, will protect you. Have that faith. But to continue to have that faith, to improve on the faith, we need to, as I was saying before, associate with the devotees of higher faith, read Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures, chant Hare Krishna, visit holy dhams as much as possible, and that will help you develop, nourish, and increase that faith. Okay, let me see if there's any. Okay, there's one more question. Oh, sorry. There's one more question, I think. Can our prayers bring them from non-conviction to conviction stage? So the question is, can we pray for somebody to make them a believer? Well, we can always pray. Krishna's listening. Remember this whole class, we talked about Krishna's listening to our prayers. We just need to be sincere. Prayers can be anything. Krishna does not put any restriction. You can only have these kind of prayers. So yeah, absolutely. Pray for somebody. If you're sick, this is a kind of sickness also. If there's no conviction, there's no faith, there's no belief, that's kind of sickness. That's called material disease. So yeah, pray to Lord Krishna. Say, please cure this person of his or her material disease. Please allow them to have some faith. Absolutely, we can pray for them. Okay, let me see. Another question. Sometimes I feel that I am just not in the mode of goodness, even though I am somehow completing chanting, reading, and other devotional activities. But I still feel very low, very, very low. Is it due to my shaking faith, lack of conviction, or just a phase? And what should be the protocol to handle such lows? Very profound question. Very, very profound question. First of all, the question itself speaks volumes about the humility of the person asking this question. This is a very classic symptom of a humble person. Nothing they do for devotional service is ever good enough. There's always room for improvement. There's always that lamentation, why can I not do better? There's always this intense desire to do more for Krishna, to do more service for Krishna, to do more service for the Guru, to help other people understand the philosophy. All those things are the qualities of a good devotee. They have nothing to do with shaky faith. It's not shaky faith at all. Let me tell you about, I'm sure you already know, but let me say it anyway. Krishnadas Kaviraj, who wrote a wonderful high class scripture like Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he said in the beginning of the book that I am so fallen that if you take my name, you will fall down. He said, I'm the worst among the worst of devotees, of men actually. This is him, Krishnadas Kaviraj. So this is a natural quality of a good devotee, one of the 26 qualities of a devotee. However, you don't want to take it too far, because if you take it too far, you'll actually stop your service. Because I'm so bad, I can't do anything right there. For what's the use? You stop. So don't go there. The best thing to do is get more association of senior devotees who exhibit more faith, who you feel confident that they can help you, whom you observe to be handling their situations better in the way that you would want to see yourself doing. And beg for their association. Don't be shy. Beg for their association. Tell them you need help, and they will help you. So the protocol simply is to what Rupa Goswami says, Guhyam Akati Pachati, which is the loving relationship between the devotees. So yeah, ask these confidential questions with more details. Reveal your heart, reveal your mind to these people and say, I need help. And you will get help. But I'll tell you, and I'm not trying to flatter you or distract you from your question. That's an amazing attitude. I should have that humility. So there's a lesson for me in this question. Feeling humble is actually a sign of strong faith. It's a sign of high self-esteem also. It depends upon how it's being felt, how it's being handled, but it's a sign of both. So therefore, it's not always bad. But if it's consistent and it's persistent, there may be a problem. And therefore, a senior person should be consulted. Once again, I know you also, so if you feel I'm not addressed it sufficiently, feel free to contact me later on. Hare Krishna. I don't see any other questions. I'll just go back one more time. No, I think that's it. So I'd like to thank the management of SCON Toronto for allowing me this opportunity to give this class. I'd like to thank my Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, as well as Lord Krishna for giving me the ability to speak. And I offer you all my obeisances for giving me your time to tolerate me for this hour. Thank you and Hare Krishna.